I know between the two sessions, people go for their bio breaks and maybe having a cup of tea before they get to the next session. But I know we have got a paucity of time and we've got to complete it on time. So we will start and we'll wait for the rest to come whenever they have finished their breaks. The way we will run this session is very simple. First, we'll have Vineet Nayar actually give his views on what HR organization will look like in this new automated age. I'll add a few comments of mine. And I thought it would be more important if we give the audience more time to ask questions so we can have the discussion focused in the answers that you want instead of keeping very little time at the end. So the aim is to, and if you're overstepping or talking too much, let's stop. So we give enough time to all of you to ask what questions you've got. So you go away from here hopefully with little more knowledge than when you walked in from here. So may I request Vineet Nayar to please address us and then I'll add a few words to it.
So good afternoon. And you know, I'm reminded when I talk to HR community of a CEO I met a few years ago. This is the CEO of the company called Kodak. And especially people of my age would remember that each one of us have a Kodak moment of our life where we took those cameras and took very selective photographs after, thinking a lot about the angles we will take, because there was only 12 you could take at a time, or 24 or 36. You would not click hundreds of them and then go to your computer and decide which one to do. The world was different at that time. The world has changed. And when I met the CEO, I asked him that, didn't you know that the digital photography will make Kodak as a company obsolete? And didn't you know that you're about to die? And he says, yes, we knew it. I said, okay, did you know, when did you know about this? He says, at least 10 years before we died, or 10 years before we were about to die. Because that time when I met him, he had not died. I mean, the company had not died. So I'm an advisor to the McKinsey Leadership Institute. I was in New York doing a 2-day seminar for them, training workshop for them. And unfortunately or fortunately, I met the McKinsey team, which was involved in advising Kodak. And I asked them that if you knew 10 years in advance that this company is about to die, why did you not do something about it? The age where brand is very important, it's not the content. It refuses, it knows what is important. Where was I? Yes. So I asked them, if you had a decade to do something about it, why did you not do something about it? And they said, there's a very interesting research they did over 6 decades of companies which lose market share. And their conclusions are 2. Number 1, anybody who loses market share or becomes obsolete knows that they're going to become obsolete at least 5 years in advance. And the only reason they become obsolete is because they don't do anything about it. So their answer was that we were not only unique, we were part of the gang which became obsolete. So I would like to start my session by saying that the one thing I would definitely predict is all the HR people in this room, your job is going to be dead by 2020. And I promise you that either you would not have a job, or you would be like that typist who still in the biodata says, I can type at a very, very fast speed. Remember, I don't know how many of you belong to that age where, when you hire a secretary, the typing speed or the dictation speed was the most important thing. And the reason for that is because of 3 mega trend changes which are happening in the world, which are worth noticing, which is the reason your job will become obsolete. First is behaviors are changing. With new sets of people coming in, their behaviors are, they are open, they're not closed. Each one of them have a separate identity. So every single individual have two identities, a physical identity and a digital identity. In the digital identity, they collaborate, they work together, they are openly sharing their status, and they're happy to be what we call open. In my generation, we were very closed, and therefore the word confidentiality has been completely redefined. So when they come into the organization, their behavior is more open, more collaborative, and therefore they will not fall into the line of command and control. They'll not fall into the line of hierarchy, and therefore they will resist all these kinds of changes. So that's the first mega trend which I'm seeing, changing behaviors of employees. The second is new places of work. There was a time where the place you go was called work. And that is not true anymore. What you do is work. It's not where you do, what you do. And therefore, people would like to work in environments which are completely conducive to what they want to do. So a lot of fast-moving companies or companies which are really liberal in their thinking do a diagnostics of what are the places you would like to work. And therefore, work from home, work from coffee shops, work from restaurants, work from beaches is all in predominantly because people are interested in the impact you create rather than, where you work. The third mega trend change is technology. Now, there are three aspects of technology which are very interesting. The first, and they are three A's. The first is the access. Today, you have access to more people than you ever had before. You had access to your applications, you have access to data than ever before. I recently had an opportunity of talking to the management team at ITC, and I don't know how many of you are aware of the eChopal experiment they did, and eChopal is about creating village marketplaces. And they have this eChopal leader, and I was asking them, how do you make the selection of eChopal? At Sampark Foundation, we are hiring hundreds and hundreds of youth who are working very hard in transforming learning outcomes in 50,000 schools. And I'm struggling to find the right kind of people who would be willing to work in those villages to bring about changes in the learning outcomes of those 3 million children. So I was asking him, how do you hire? And he said something very interesting. He said, we hire people who have a family to back them. Because then what happens is then when one person comes in, he comes in with his contacts with his chacha, taya, mama, mami. The entire family comes in, and therefore we get the whole, and we don't hire based on a person, we hire based on a community. So access, ability to be able to have access on Facebook with friends to be able to solve a problem is a mega trend technology change which is happening. Therefore, you're not hiring an individual, you're hiring an individual with access, with networks. The second is very interesting, which is, as you're already aware of, which is artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence in many form is a trend which is going to transform a lot of HR activity. So let's try and see what exactly is happening on artificial intelligence. So the first aspect of artificial intelligence is what Google is trying to do, to try and have a Google translator which thinks better. What maybe a couple of other companies are trying to do, like Watson is trying to do, to try and have a better insight. Some other companies are trying to do is automate repetitive transactions more and more. So a lot of technology change which is happening around artificial intelligence is going to have a material impact on the way the jobs get created. My prediction on Indian IT, which impacts about 3 million people, employs about 3 million people today, is the fact for the same job, the 3 million jobs will come down to 1 million, and 2 million people will be without jobs if we are not careful and create new kinds of jobs, because artificial intelligence will take over that in a fairly big way as we have not seen before. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And the third technology trend, which is also is the augmented reality transformation which is happening. Remember, most of our learning was rote method learning, predominantly because knowledge was very critical for us. And therefore, we were grown in an environment where you would increase the pace of learning by the whole education system was based on how do we give you more knowledge in the shortest period of time. And my most favorite teacher was my geography teacher, who taught me, the way to be able to capture history so that you could remember it as to what is happening at what time. I tried to teach that to my kids, and they said, Google auntie can help me do that, so I don't need the charts which your teacher gave. So the knowledge, the ability to access knowledge is completely gone. And therefore, what is more critical is the fact that how do you learn? So people moved away from ability to be able to deliver knowledge fast to ability to be able to learn fast. And there is where augmented reality came in. The fact that each one of us learn differently, and therefore we can learn on the job through augmented reality. And a lot of you have, choosing a car, why go to BMW and a Merc and an Audi and drive them separately on separate days and then make up your mind, and it is not, not clear whether you felt the same on the 3 different days. Why don't you walk into a booth and experience all the 3 cars simultaneously, and that's augmented reality, and make a decision based on the experience you get on the augmented reality platform. Therefore, surgery, for example, surgeons are going to do surgery tomorrow with goggles on, with augmented reality. They will be able to scan what's right in front of them and take an instant decision on what needs to be done. The impact of augmented reality will definitely be on publishing, on entertainment, on the way the consumers buy on e-commerce side, but more importantly on the HR function, that suddenly you're going to have massive community who can be trained very easily to try and do complex skills. So if you see the 3 mega trends in terms of changing behaviors, changing technology, changing spaces, the impact on HR is going to be substantial in the following way. Number one is going to be that the culture of the organization, number one is going to be that whatever you are doing from an operations point of view is going to get automated. And nobody would want you to do payroll processing, appraisal systems, attendance correlations, all that data analytics which you do on Excel sheets, you would not be asked to do, predominantly because there are bots which can do it much better than you can do. But I think the more material impact is going to be different. Material impact is going to be that when industrial revolution came in, everybody moved from what we call barter trade, which was custom build, to standard build. So everybody got used to one way of doing it, one shirt, one coat, one suit, one tumbler, one car. So everybody has a red car, everybody has a blue car. So we forgot that at one particular time, you could have a slightly red-blue car, front red, back blue. The customization completely vanished, and we all became this mass consumption society, which was very boring. With 3D printing coming in, augmented reality coming in, and analysts coming in, people are asking for more customization. So if you know so much about me, why would you not give me custom product? Why would you not print it for me? Why would you not deliver a unique service because you have so much knowledge? So customization will come in. HR functions have been built around mass commoditization. They have not been built on customization. So HR functions will have to leverage the analytics which is available to try and deliver customized services to the employees, because employees are going to become rare commodities, people who could think. And therefore, that whether it is augmented reality, whether it is artificial intelligence, changing behavior, changing spaces, all that, HR would need to rethink their role. So my prediction on HR is pessimist, predominantly because I think HR is not applying its mind. HR is lazy, intellectually lazy. And HR, like Kodak, is not seeing the reality that they're going to be dead by 2020. And I'm saying 2020. I'm not saying 10 years from now. I'm saying HR will be dead by 2020. However, the problem which I have is exactly like Kodak was in the right place at the right time to launch big time into digital photography and be the largest camera company in the world, predominantly because they understand colors better than anybody else. They did not. And therefore, if you see the substantial change which is going to come into our organizations, which is transform the culture of the organization, transform the behavior of the organization, transform the organization structures, transform the way the pyramid structures are done, transform the way you inspire people, transform the way and not manage people. All that mega change, the only set of people who are actually trained to think on that fashion is HR people. But because most HR people are intellectually lazy, happy to do operations job, that's the reason I'm predicting their death. But some people who are able to get up from their sleep and saying, hey, I'm not going to do operations which are going to be taken over by the bots. I'm going to try and think about transforming the organization, help transforming the organization, because that is what I was truly trained for. Those are the people who will be CXOs of the future. You must remember the future set of generation is not going to get married to an organization, they're going to get married to a cause. And therefore, as far as the organization is to deliver them to that cause, or as far as they see that cause alignment, they'll work in that organization. The moment they don't, they will not work for the organization. Unlike our generation, who was very scared of what would I do if I don't have a job, this generation is not scared. They're very happy sitting in their office, chilling with their friends, having a beer, being on the laptop, and not working for a year, 2 years. And I know for a lot of these children who work for 6 months, 9 months, collect a lot of money, and then they go and do world travel. So therefore, if you are HR executives, you will have to do more to be able to attract these people by creating, transforming the culture of the organization and accepting them more, and you are the only people who can do it. So the question is, would you do it? And that brings me to the last story, which I wanted to share with you, of how did HR really came up. And my story, and I don't know if it is true, but I think it is true, is 2 men were fighting. This is many hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And they had sword in their hands and they were fighting. Like all good men, they were fighting over a woman. And so they were trying to settle the score. And then one of them turned out to be, highly educated HR executive, and he says, you know what, why am I fighting alone when I can fight with my family? So he ran to his house, got all his family, and suddenly you had the HR executive with his family fighting with this another guy. And it was an uneven war. But people can copy very fast, and this guy got the sense that I will lose this battle, so he went and got his family. So suddenly you have 10 people fighting against 10, and over a period of time it was 100 people fighting against 100. Then the other guy figured out something else. He figured out that if there are 100 people fighting with 100 people, and I'm one of the 100 people, should I be doing something different? And that is the day the leader was born. He said, actually my business is not to fight, but my business is to enthuse, encourage, enable, organize these guys into a fighting unit so that I can win rather than fight myself. And that's how a leader was born, that my business is to enthuse, encourage, organize these people so that they can win the battle for me. And that's how a leader was born. That leader went on and he won the fight. He went on to become an entrepreneur. He started running a business. The business became large, and then he says, hey, it's too large to run. So what I will do, I will go and hire that HR executive. Remember the person I fought against? He brought that guy and saying, it is now your business to enthuse, encourage, enable these people, and I'll go back and fight. And that's how he did sales and marketing and all that stuff. That's how HR was born, and that's how the role of HR was enthusing, encouraging, enabling people. And that's how HR became very critical to the organization and very big. But guess what? Nobody wants to be enthused, encouraged, enabled by you anymore. And if you don't know that truth, go and try and do that to your children. Your children will tell you, chill mom or chill dad, I don't need it anymore. And that's what your employees are telling you. So therefore, my concluding remark is, before you die, wake up. There is an opportunity in front of you. I hope you grab it. Otherwise, goodbye.
Thanks, Vineet. I think if it was not a wake-up call, I'm surprised nobody got up to go and have coffee. I think he made you smell coffee, saying that 2020 is bold, okay? 2020, HR will not exist in its current form. And I think that's something I think we should all take away from here. And if we are sitting very comfortable, in fact, I was reading a report the other day where they said Germany is going to ban petrol and diesel cars by 2030. So if nobody is going to prepare, so all these BMWs and Mercedes who are today sitting with large market shares with all these fancy cars, which many of us may be driving, those cars won't be, it's banned in Germany. It'll be, and that's where the world is moving to. The point I'm trying to make is something that looked good, something that looked fanciful, something that looked our own kind of way is not going to exist. When Henry Ford, when Ford started Ford Motors, he brought out this mass production system. It was the first time he brought out a mass production system, which ultimately became, everybody followed him, and it became the first birth of the automobile industry, and it grew on that, this thing. We heard Vineet talk of colors. Ford said we make all the colors, but our colors are black. So that's what they made. All the cars that they made was only black or white or whatever. I think it was only black. The point is the reality is very simple. We are working at KPMG with IBM Watson. We were doing a particular audit process. 45 minutes, that machine was trained. It came with 73% accuracy. 45 minutes of training on that machine. This is a machine which is thinking, which is doing the work of what a normal auditor would do. 45 minutes of training, 73% accuracy of the data thrown up. You can just imagine with 1 year or 2 years of training, the machine will reach somewhere 98%, which is much better than human level of error that you will make when you go and do an audit or do any of those things. So we in our profession are feeling that technology is going to come and overtake the work the way we do it. He spoke about Google. Let me tell you, earlier we used to get a lot of consulting fees from just giving basic research. Now the clients tell us, we go to Dr. Google, he gives us everything. We don't need you unless you can come with some insights. So the level of insights that you need to take is very different. We in KPMG introduced work from anywhere. He said the beach. Of course, we didn't go down and say you sit in the beach and work, but we can say you can work from anywhere. Why do you want to come to office? Because what you need is a laptop or a computer or whatever you have it. And most of your work actually gets done unless you're going to go to a client or whatever. So the point is that the reality of life is very different. The kind of people that you hire do not want to work 9 to 5 today. They don't want to do things the way we have been brought up. Okay, there's a standard work hours. You work in your work hours. They want to work at different times. Everything is moving to outcome-based now. And I think if people don't change, and I think where you're going to get hit, when I'm talking of HR, it's a mindset change. You cannot be process-oriented. You cannot throw process all the time. The moment you keep throwing process all the time, you're walking down a path which is slippery and which is going to be very disastrous. I do not know when is the last time that you may have ever received or a note which was handwritten, or a note of appreciation that was personally signed by the head of the organization or whatever. Or when is the last time you even thought of such an idea? If tomorrow all these basic processes, one thing that is not going to go away, let me tell you, is going to be the human touch. That can never go away. And I can relate one story to you from my previous organization where I used to work. We used to have what we called senior manager. After senior manager, we had partner, and that's the way. And then, of course, all the different levels. And this is few years back. This guy resigned. He was 18 months in the organization, didn't have a great time. And then he suddenly decided that he needs to resign. On the last day, a guy calls him. He says, "I'm Vijay from HR. You cannot resign today." He said, "Vijay, I was in this firm for 18 months. You never touched my life. I'm not going to let you touch my life on the last day." So the point I'm trying to make out here, that if you do not touch people's lives, if you are not there, and if you can take the process, if machines can take over, if automation, which is moving at a pace never seen before. Today we are talking of pervasiveness. Technology has gone so pervasive, it's into everything that we do. And if we are not seeing it, then I think we are missing a big trick out here. If we are not, I can sit down and rattle to you all the names of the latest trainings that are available, onboarding process that are available, which will completely destroy what you are doing now, which will make whatever you are doing today in the way that you have been doing it is going to completely say, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I not using the latest technology and getting it done and giving my employees a better experience? The point is that how do you actually get, use that latest technology? Today, everything is moving away. Earlier, PeopleSoft was considered a great technology platform. Today, Oracle themselves are cannibalizing it through Fusion. I mean, you've got Workbook, Workday, you've got what is the SAP one called? Success factors. I mean, all these coming and taking. And today, analytics is overtaken. I mean, where you used to get that kind of information on employees, what you can get today, and what can you do with that data? What can you do with that information and what can you convert it into is something that you need to see. And the more we are able to get that going, I think we'll move. I think Vineet raised a very nice point, saying that two people were fighting. He's given the history of HR actually, so maybe you can go back and reflect on it in a more quieter moment. But the point that you need to ask yourself, how many HR professionals go on to become CEOs of companies? And that's a question that you really need to ask yourself. Because CEOs come from within the organization only. They come from one function. And if today you do a survey of any globally or in India, people will be in the top 3 items. So the first item will be the geopolitical, which will be a big thing. Cybersecurity will be the next. People will be there. I mean, in the top 3 or top 5, any survey you do, top 3 or top 5, if it is in the top, why is it that you may come and give me 100 examples or 200 examples of HR professionals who headed HR, went on to become CEOs and very successful CEOs. I want to ask, what about the millions who actually are there and don't become that? What is the reason? You need to reflect on it. I don't have the answer to it, but maybe you just have to reflect the way I think Vineet raised a lot of points to you to think about, to reflect upon, while he put it in the technology context. I think even if you didn't have technology, you'd have to think about it. He spoke about Kodak. Kodak died. And he's telling HR is going to be dead in 2020. I have another story of Fuji Films, who was also with Kodak at that time making the same films. And Fuji Films still exist, but you know what? As a face cream company, and they saw the success, the technology that they used in making those films, they've now started using face cream for women. It's become so popular that they've gone into other cosmetic products on the line, and the company has revived. So people need to understand. Victronics, another case. They used to have the Swiss knives. Now what do? They make watches, they make bags. And because they understood what their strength was and they worked on it. So you need to understand what your core competency is and then work on it. Technology is only an enabler. Technology is only an enabler to what you do. The mind is yours. You need to think, but with machine learning coming, and machine learning is going to we do not know to what extent success is going to come on machine learning because it's not been tested. It's done very well in the medical field, let me tell you. In the medical field, a lot of success has come through a lot of this artificial intelligence, machine learning. It's proved, but other fields, it is still yet to be tested. It may fail. We don't know. Time will tell. A few years. We can't wait till 2020. I hope all of you have got your CVs ready. So, because that was a wake-up call to me when I was sitting there. And when he's saying 2020 for HR professionals, let me tell you, for all white-collar jobs. All people who thought their jobs were not displaceable are now under challenge with technology coming in, whether our job is secure. If tomorrow one bold CEO of an IT company in India goes to US and tells them, you don't need a CEO, you outsource it to me. When the outsourcing industry was at its peak, this guy goes to the US and they don't need a CEO. I can run it from Bangalore or wherever. So the point is, I think all positions are under threat today. And technology is something that is overtaking all of us. Technology is the biggest disruptor. So we have to re-look at how our organization is going to be, re-look at the training, re-look at the people that we interact with. And how do we actually deal with these individuals when we deal with them, or do we keep throwing process? And we have to get out of this process mindset that we are in, because if you are not in touch with the people, you will become irrelevant. You will become irrelevant because those people will not want to have anything to do with you, and you will get the call like this guy got it, saying, you never touched my life, now why are you touching my life now? So I think you need to go and reflect back as to how do you work, and how are you going to work in an era where technology is going to overtake all of us, and see what are we going to do with that kind of, when Steve Jobs brought in the iPhone, he brought the iPad, and you see the way each of these have come and changed our lives. Today, each of those products that he took out have destroyed not one industry, but a couple of industries. He destroyed the phone industry, he destroyed the music industry. I mean, destroyed means it completely cannibalized it. And you only got one instrument today with what you're going to do. And as we're going into world, you're going to have one, I don't know, whatever we will call it, there'll be just one instrument in our hand which will do all our debit, credit card payments. Everything is going to get done through a phone or through whatever we call that instrument. So I think that's the way the world is moving. And if that is the way the world is moving, are you ready for it? And I want to ask you all here, when you sit there, do you ever look at your customers and suppliers? When you are looking, what is their requirement? Because if the customers need some kind of skills, is the company ready for skills? Is your company, are you actually hiring those skills which is required by your customers? So you cannot just look within your organization. I think HR has to go beyond. I was addressing a bunch on HR, and then this one lady comes to me and tells me, I'm in line to be the next CEO of the company. But I know I will not make it, because that will be given to a business person. And the one question I asked her, that are you willing to get into a business, learn business, and come down in your career for 1 year? See, to get something, you have to give up something. You can't get everything there and say, okay, I've learned it this way, and you'll not get it. So I think the more important thing is HR to get into business, to learn what business is all about. Because if you don't know business, how will you ever sit in a strategy meeting? How many of you sitting there are in your executive team of your company? How many of you sit on the top table? Ask that question. And if you're not sitting on the top table, why are you not sitting on that top table? Because I'll tell you what happens. You'll be called for the first meeting. You don't contribute anything because they're talking of some sales. Second meeting, they're talking of some product. Third meeting, they're talking of some different markets. Your contribution, and you can contribute a lot, let me tell you. You can contribute a lot if you understand the business. But after some time, they'll stop calling for those meetings because you're not contributing anything. So they might as well get people who will contribute. So I think my point is, get out of your comfort zone. Get out of the comfort zone in which you are. Smell the coffee. It's real. I can tell you it's real. In our consulting profession, it is completely turned on its head. Today, clients don't appoint us to tell us, okay, what solutions you give. They say, this is my problem, come and solve it. And you, what is the skin in the game for you? You have to have a skin in the game today. The entire consulting profession, I can talk because I work in the consulting profession, has changed on its head. All companies are changing, and the ones which are going to get impacted the most are the brick and mortar companies who are they think we are pretty safe. They are going to get impacted the most because technology is going to come and change business models. It's going to change everything that you do. And if it's changing business models, HR cannot be far away. You cannot be saying, who will you be hiring from? I was sitting with the CEO of a very large multinational bank, and my partner, she was with me, and she said, oh, now your strength in your back office has gone up to so much, saying you're giving me very bad news. So somebody think, okay, this guy is growing, he should be happy. He's saying, why has RPA not been put in and why my headcount is not reducing? So I think the life has changed. It's no more about headcount, it's no more about adding. And even in our profession, we used to grow, we hired people, our revenues went up. Today, it cannot work. This is a dysfunctional model. The model will have to be, how do you add value into a client's life? And you will start trimming your number of people, but you'll be adding value and getting more fees. And hence being able to pay your people much better than what you're currently paying them, and increasing the profitability. The big mantra today is profitability. I mean, the unfortunate part, because I'm an accountant, I can tell you, we never cost of attrition. It never comes in the balance sheet. People who, when a person leaves, that cost doesn't come in the P&L account. Nobody sees it. But analytics now gives you that opportunity to actually go down that path and look at some of these costs. I think it will change. The life will change. And I think I will not take up any more time. I would like to end out here. And I would now like to open up to question and answers. You can raise your hand, say which organization you are from, and ask the question to any of us. Thank you. Okay. Just one. Oh, sorry. There's already a gentleman standing. Sorry about that. I didn't see that.
Good afternoon to you all. I'm Nehra. It's nice you've been talking about and making the HR very uncomfortable over here, HR managers or HR guys. But there is a story of a person who I like to share with you. There was this guy, is a great trainer and a coach. and he trained large number of people, and these people became very successful in life. So once in an interview, somebody asked him, you training these people and they're becoming so high in life, why you not becoming winner? He said, I make winners, I can't win. So the HR guys, you are making people at the top. You may not go at the top, you may not become the CEO, but you are doing a great job. Keep doing it. Don't be discouraged about this thing. And develop the human resource, because it's the human resource which is going to finally take over this organization, not the machines. A machine cannot motivate a person. Who can motivate a person? You can motivate a person. A person can motivate a person. So be the great motivator in the force. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. The point, I just thought it's important. Okay, thank you for sharing and for motivating the group. It's very good to get different perspectives and get different views. But I'll also tell you one small story. There used to be a, hello, is this working? Hello? Yeah. So there was this, the ships, the ships used to be built where the sailing ships were built, which were transporting goods. So when, what do you think destroyed these ships? When the ships were first sailing ships, what do you think came and destroyed? Can anybody in the audience answer it? What came after that these ships the industry got actually demolished? Steam, yeah. Somebody said steam out here, yeah. So what did the ship industry do? They built even more fancy ships because they were in denial phase. The only point I want to leave out here, your point is very valid. HR touches people. It motivates people. I completely agree with whatever sentiments you've expressed. I'm totally with it. But let's not be in denial of what is happening around us, because this is going to, because never in the history of what at least I know in my last 30, 35 years of my professional life, have I seen change of this space, where automation is coming to consume all of us. I think that's what we need to keep, and I think that's what Vineet put, and I supplemented few of the points. I think we should keep that in mind. Yeah, okay, first then.
I'm Arvinder Brara, Managing Director of Mantech Consultants. I'd just like to comment on your startling statement that HR people will be obsolete by 2020. If I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that the roles will change, that they will not really be obsolete, but the HR manager which we see today and in 2020 will be different and will need different skills. Please let me know if my understanding is correct.
When I grew up, my father had a very big role to play in what I did. He decided on the games I played. He decided on the engineering I did. He decided on the movies we went. He decided on the, whatever we're going to have for dinner or lunch. He decided. I tried to do that in my house with my children. And they told me the fact, in terms of the fact that you're not a decision maker anymore. So I was still a dad, and they called me dad, but my role changed from commanding to influencing their thinking around drugs, sex, what they should be doing. But all decisions which my father took, in my children's case, my children took. I did not take. I had a vote, 1:4. We are a 4-member family, but I couldn't decide. My view on HR is the same, that your role is dramatically going to change. My concern with HR is like dads, they're not seeing it coming. I did not see it coming. I thought I've given birth to a child and I own the child, and therefore the child better follow what I did because I followed what my father did. But the world has changed. So my predicting is that whatever you are doing right now as HR executive, which is managing, aggregating, counting, is going to be dead. There are going to be better ways, smarter ways, cheaper ways to do that. And therefore, the aspects of what you are saying, motivating, inspiring, organizing in a different way, bringing about cultural transformation, thinking, applying mind is going to be in fashion. And that is the time the question will be asked is, how many people can do it? How many people are transitioning their capabilities, skills, thinking from just managing and aggregating into inspiring and liberating an organization away from the clutches of the past, clutches of hierarchy, into an inspired organization which runs at a completely different clock speed. If you take HCL, in 2005, when I had an opportunity of leading HCL, the transformation of HCL from $1.2 billion market cap to $20 billion market cap was purely based on employee inspiration. Employee first, customer second was an idea of the fact that if you motivate the employees will deliver 10 times better with the same product, the same service, the same customer, the same market. It was a very simple principle. It was an HR-led idea. An HR-led idea created a 20 times or 19 times multiple on a market cap. So we are going to be in search for more such ideas. We're going to be less enamored by the aggregators and managers and more enamored by inspiring leaders who can transform cultures and get people to deliver more.
So, my name is Sachin Kapoor and I represent a company called Brands of Desire. I'm a non-HR person and I have worked in many different industries at different levels. Now I'm Chief Operating Officer of this company called Brands of Desire. I'm managing for the first time a challenge where I'm managing a workforce of graphic designers, developers, UX, UI designers, content writers, and different kind of new age professions, because I worked with companies like Unilever, I worked with companies like Tata, AIG, and I worked in a very conventional organizational structure kind of a situation. For the first time, I'm facing a situation which we all are now going to be facing, I'm sure, in the next few years, and you have already said so. What kind of organizational structures do you see in times to come? And I'm sure we are already implementing those kind of organizational structures where we are also able to not only manage people, because essentially we're talking about human resource here, and we are not talking about technology, because technology, as you rightly said, is just an enabler. And eventually all the human beings, around 7 billion plus people, are going to be impacted in some way or the other by whatever that we are doing right now. So I'm saying, what kind of organizational structures do we see, and how do we see eventually human beings evolving to be a leader in different capacities, not essentially by the designation, by the work that they do, and how do you see a happy communities to be building up and not just companies? Thank you, that's my question.
So I think we can spend the whole day talking about it and still not cover it. But I think there are a couple of things which you should think about. Number one is what you should not do. I think that I'm very clear about. What you should do is a lot of series of experiments which different people, different leaders have to do it based on their context. What you should not do is tell employees what to do. What you should not do is manage. Manage is a French word, which is breaking the horse into submission. Ban that word from your dictionary. What you should not do is command and control. What you should not do is appraisal where God plays God. None of those things you should do. Now, once you decide that these are the things I'm not going to do, that's the time you're going to scratch your head and saying, so what do I do? You must understand that people go to a mosque, a mandir, a church on a Sunday, spend a lot of money doing that, and feel good about it. And then come into your organization Monday, get paid, and feel bad about it. There must be something you are doing wrong. And the question comes down to is to ask the employee, what is in it for you when you come here? Somebody will say learning, somebody will say training, somebody will say monetization for wealth, somebody will say experience, somebody will say I like the party, I like to go out chase girls or boys, whatever it is. Your organization has to meet those aspirations of those people, number one. And number two, you have to change those aspirations to be something else. If a guy comes in and saying, I'm coming in for money, or if a guy comes in and saying, I'm coming for party, it is your job to say, hey, there can be a higher purpose. So at Sampark Foundation, for example, we have hundreds and hundreds of people who are applying. And I wonder in terms of why are they willing to work for free? Most of them willing to work for free, where I, in HCL, would find it so difficult to attract people. I get tons and tons of extremely good IT, IIMs, everybody wanting to come and work for villages is because there is a higher purpose in what we are doing today, and there doesn't seem to be a purpose in what I was doing in the past. So therefore, if you have an organization which is driven by purpose, and people align with that purpose, then more and more of them will come in. I mean, if you see all these religious leaders, why do these religious leaders have such fanatic following? And some of times illogically is because there is an alignment of purpose. So I think you have to find a purpose, not we are doing good. That's not a purpose. In terms of, do I want to be associated with the purpose? So what do I want? Can you deliver that? As a community, can you create the community around the purpose? And if you can, then you'll have an inspired workforce.
Okay, yeah, just 1 second. That lady there, can you give the mic?
Hi, this is Priyanka here. My question is to Vineet. Vineet, you spoke about the need of the HR function to undergo a transformational change. And I think in the previous session, Hitesh also mentioned that how we are not able to keep pace with the technological advancement, and that's a huge challenge. He talked about the need of a learning system which will help mitigate that challenge. So I'm talking about the HR function in particular. How do we address this challenge? How do we work on transformation, the cultural change which you are talking about? How do we work on that?
I think any change comes in a three-step process. So if you take Mahatma Gandhi, when he landed on the shores of India, we have only 1 minute?
No, I thought
Okay.
last question.
So when he landed on the shores of India, the question we need to ask is, was he the inspiration leader we were looking for as a country? The answer is yes. Mahatma Gandhi was met by hundreds of thousands of people when he came to Calcutta. Did he have the inspirational idea of non-violence when he came in 1915? The answer is yes. He had practiced it for 7 years in South Africa. It worked. So here is an example of an inspirational leader with an inspirational idea, yet we took 33 decades plus to get independence. And the reason is that any transformation needs to follow a structured change process. The first process is what I call a dissatisfaction with status quo. So the first thing which HR needs to do is believe of the fact that you are obsolete or you're going to become obsolete by 2020. If you don't believe it, then the desire for change is not omnipresent. So what was the problem with India? Many people in India wanted independence, but the majority did not. They were happy under the British Raj. And even in my young days, a lot of people will tell me that British Raj was better than our current governance. They don't understand the meaning of independence. So status quo has to be challenged by creating dissatisfaction with today. Second is an inspiration of tomorrow of what is in it, what does the future look like for you. So what would happen if HR would transform themselves? They would lead, right? There would be freedom from whatever they are bound by today. And therefore, when Gandhi defined freedom from British, it was an inspiring message which caught the imagination of a lot of people. So what is in it for the HR if you do transform? Second step. Third is a series of experiments to go from here to there. So I'm not a big believer into this prescription pill of a learning thing and this thing and that thing. I think the answer for every individual is different. But the problem is the fact that you don't see, like Kodak I give you, you don't see that you're going to die. You don't see that. You don't internalize it. It is not creating dissatisfaction. You're just ignoring it. And you believe that it's not going to happen. Number one. Number two, there is no reason, inspiring reason for you to change. So if you fix that, then you'll on your own find out how to move from here to there. If you don't fix this, then we will be attending conferences and speaking good English words and hiding behind excuses and nothing will happen.
I think it is, I'll just write, no, I think we have run out of time totally, and we are living in a digital age. I heard the food will also disappear. So I didn't want that to happen. And I thought you all should eat your lunch and you'll go. I'll just like to supplement something which Vineet said on the HR. So you cannot now say that technology will be done by technology people, this will be done by somebody else. I think one would need to get completely conversant with technology. One will need to get completely conversant how to read analytics, how to actually work with it. You cannot be divergent from it. So the point of saying that we're going to have all these specialized people there, that era is gone. I think HR people, even when you hire your new team, you should have enough people who have got those skills to be able to work out there. So I wish you all, thank you very much for being patient, and I don't want to stand between you and lunch.
Thank you, Mr. Rekhy. Thank you.